In this video, we're going to talk about the customer entity. When a customer signs a contract, we create the corresponding customer entity in the PortaBIlling. In PortaBIlling, customer entity is responsible for paying for the consumed services. One or several accounts can be created under a customer. An account is used for end-user identification. In our case, it will be a phone line configured on an IP phone or a soft phone. In order for the customer to be able to use the service, at least one account is needed. Each account must have a main product and can have one or several add-on products. Let's talk about the properties of the customer in PortaBIlling. Customer entity is the most fundamental entity in PortaBIlling. That's why there are quite a few properties, and we are going to go over the most important ones here in this video. Customer has a balance and a credit limit. First of all, the balance can either show how much money the customer owes us in case of a postpaid customer, when first the service is consumed and then the payment is received, or customer's balance can show how much funds the customer has available in case of a prepaid billing model. In this case, first the funds are topped up and then the service usage becomes available. We have business model. Business model allows us to describe and understand customers' business. Different business models use different terms. For example, a mobile customer versus a VoIP customer. If we build a self-care portal and show SIM cards or whether the international roaming service is on, these terms and data won't be very useful for a VoIP customer. Business model allows us to better understand the customer's needs and adjust self-care portals accordingly, for example. The customer entity has a large number of controls for the billing process. The first one is billing period. How often do we bill our customers? The most common billing period is a month. It could be a calendar month or a period of 30 days, for example. And other billing periods are also possible, a week or a day or even 15 days. Okay. The next one is the invoice template. The invoice template defines the format of the customer's invoice, the layout, the logos, the fonts, which details are included and which aren't. Then we have a taxation setting, what taxes should be applied and how these should be calculated. Customer can have bundle discounts at a customer level. For example, if a customer makes calls for more than $100 per month, they get a 50% discount on their subscription. Customers can also have commitments. Commitments are basically long-term discounts that are given to the customer in return for a promise to keep using the service over a long period of time. If the customer in question unsubscribes before the commitment period is over, a penalty usually applies. Then we have the customer's contact information, the email to send them notification, their postal address that we'll use to generate the invoices. Next, we have web self-care access, the access level, what operations are allowed or disallowed for this customer, and their credentials, username and password, to access the web self-care portal. For customers with a large number of accounts, it is quite convenient to have default service configuration at the customer level as well. We already know that default service configuration is possible at the product level, but we can also provide a default service configuration for all accounts under a customer. An example of such feature that is usually defined at the customer level is music on hold. We sell products to many companies, so if a company wants to have special music for calls on hold, we are not going to define this at the product level. Instead, we are going to define this at the customer level. And this way, for all accounts, all end users or employees of this company, the music on hold file will be the same. In the next video, when we are going to talk about accounts, you're going to see that service configuration is also possible at the account level. However, setting such a feature as music on hold for each account individually wouldn't make much sense. In this case, our administrator Bob would have to manually configure it every time for every new employee. For features individual for a customer but common for all accounts of this customer, it makes sense to provide a default service configuration at the customer level. Several lists or records are also grouped under customer. First of all, the list of XDRs. An XDR is an extensible detail record, basically a record of an action. For example, a customer makes a call or posts a payment, or a subscription charge is applied. Basically, all transactions that take place in the system are stored in XDRs. Then we have the list of all generated invoices with their corresponding statuses. We talk more in detail about invoice statuses in our chapter Invoices, but for example, invoices can have a paid or unpaid status. If you want to learn more about invoices in PortaBIlling and their statuses, go ahead and check out the linked course chapter. Large corporate customers may have a subdivision into sites. However, in the scope of this course, we are not going to use it. Customers can purchase DID numbers or direct inward dialing numbers to be reachable from the outside world. Customers own these numbers, but also pay a monthly fee for using them to the DID provider. For customer entity, as for any other entity in the PortaBIlling, audit log is available. This is a journal of all changes in the system, what was changed and who changed it. For example, our admin Bob changes the customer's email address, and then the customer goes to their self-care portal and changes the email address again. And then again, the customer complains they haven't received the invoice. We can show them the history of changes from the audit log and clarify the situation. Now let's go to our web interface and create our test customer. Let's go to Sales, Customers, and then switch to the Create tab. Let's give our customer name, Test Easy Call. It is going to be a prepaid customer. What is the difference between prepaid and postpaid customers? The main difference lies in the way the customer balance changes with service usage. For prepaid customers, the balance shows the available funds, which decrease with usage. If you used prepaid SIM cards, then you already know how this works. For postpaid customers, the balance shows how much money the customer owes to the CSP provider, the PortaSwitch owner. The balance increases with service usage and decreases with payments. If the balance of a postpaid customer reaches the credit limit, the customer won't be able to continue using the services until the posted payment. In order to avoid such unpleasant situations, when a customer all of a sudden can't make any more calls, there is a possibility to notify them when the credit limit is about to be reached. The same notification is available for low available funds. Our easy call customer is going to be prepaid, and the currency is going to be US dollar. By default, available funds are going to be zero. Until the customer tops up their funds, they won't be able to make any calls. Let's have universal business model for simplicity. Our billing period is going to be monthly. And we also have billing period time zone. This is the time zone that will be used to generate invoices for this customer. Let's click Save. Our customer has been created. The next configuration step is to create at least one account under this customer in order for them to be able to use this service.